Now that we are done with the high poly, I imported it all back into Maya, and now we want to create the low poly in here. One thing that we want to avoid is that we have to do things from scratch. So what we want to do is take our high poly piece before we move it to ZBrush, alter it a bit, and use this as our basis for our low poly. So let's do this. Let's start with the knife, for example. So I'm going to duplicate it. And what I want to do first is I want to delete all the support loops that we don't need on the low poly. So let's go in. First of all, let's delete the bottom half because we're going to just mirror it down at the end. And now let's just go in and delete all the support loops that we don't need. So we don't need any of those edges. None of those edges. Okay. We don't need those inside edges here. This one we need. We don't need those guys though. We don't need this one. We don't need those guys. We don't need those guys. We don't need these guys. We don't need any of those guys. Just this supporter here, I guess. And now what we want to do as well is we want to select the edges that we do need and make them hard if they should be hard at the end result. So like this, for example. Yeah, we're still missing those guys here. Let's see if we just select all of those faces. To edge parameter and yeah, make those guys hard. Nice. Let's make sure we don't have anything intersecting, but this looks good. We don't need those guys. We don't need any of those guys. Let's see. This does look pretty good already, I would say. Okay. So what we want to do now is we want to select all the hard edges. But now instead of beveling it, we want to detach it. As you can see, those edges do stay hard now. We just have some minor errors. So we have an error here and here, so we can just delete those faces. We don't need them anyway. But the rest does look fine. Here we have a little error that can be fixed by adding um, adding an edge here. So if we just connect those two, doesn't, let's see if we isolate this face. If we connect those two, yeah, hit the wrong edge. If we connect those guys and smooth it again, we can see we fixed this, but now we have errors on the side. So let's just not do this. And yeah, let's just smooth this one, mesh smooth. Now this smooth mesh, we can just clean up. So let's just delete all those edges we don't need. Let's make sure those guys are where they should be. We don't need this guy. We don't need that edge. We don't need any of those guys. We don't need this loop. So basically we just clean this up now, this mesh. So everything got a bit smoother, especially the knife. I can even think about leaving this edge in, maybe until here. Exactly. Then we want to move these guys in place. We don't need those guys. We want to combine all those guys. We don't need this supporter here. Don't need this guy. We don't need that guy. We don't need any of those guys. On this one, we can clean it up quite a bit, so we don't need any of those guys. We don't need those guys, so we can just merge them. And here, let's see, yeah, we can just get rid of them. And now let's make this more low poly. This looks better. What if we get rid of those guys and combine this guy? Maybe that's a bit much. We could combine those guys though. Yeah, this looks good. Let's do the same here. Okay, so now let's merge everything. Let's see if we find some errors. So here's something. Yeah, that one needs to move. That one needs to move. Here we can just try to delete this and bridge those two edges. We're still getting an error here. Let's delete this face. See if we just see where the error comes from. Ah yeah, those guys might cause the error. So let's delete this face as well. Merge those guys. Now if we select it, we get a nice border here. But what we want to do first is we want to connect this guy in. So let's add an edge here. on that edge loop here. Same here. Want to add an edge loop exactly here, and we want to bridge those guys. We can do something similar here, but let's fill this hole first, and let's try if we triangulate it. So quadriangulate and then triangulate it. Other way around, triangulate and then quadriangulate it. Let's see how much triangles we get, how long they are. This one is pretty long one, so might be the best if we have at least one edge down here. But other than that, this should be fine. If we make it all smooth, we can see how much the normal actually bends because we're not gonna have hard edges in the low poly. So what we should do here is, maybe let's collapse those guys so we eliminate 2 triangles already per side. And another trick we can use is adding something like this around here and then combining all those edges, so it doesn't bend as far, basically. We can try this. Or if we don't want to do this, another thing we can do is just add more loops, basically. So let's try this as well, meaning we can go down here like this, for example, and then combine it into this one. Oop. Like this. That's another thing we can do. We can also do it in here. And then one down like this. So yeah, let's go with this way. Let's just try out some different triangulation methods here. This looks not too bad. Let's do the same here. So let's collapse those two. Let's get rid of all those edges here. And let's get this one straight down. Here the same, straight up. And then let's just connect those by just pressing the connect button. Okay, looks good. So the knife would be fine like this. So now let's just mirror it and combine it. Now we can even get rid of this connecting edge here, like this center edge, at least at the back here, because we won't need it. Just need to make sure these are triangles then and not an angle. Okay, so let's look at the knife again. Works great. So now let's do this to basically all the assets we were using. So the next one will be those two guys. We won't do it with this inner one because we can just make like an extruded cylinder here. But at least for those 3 guys we can do it. So let's duplicate it down. And let's take a look. Okay. So again, we're gonna delete all the edges we don't need. In here again, like before, we can just delete the bottom half for now and just work on the top. Let's get rid of all those supporters. Okay, let's move those points into position. We can delete the whole inside of this. Oop, because press F1. Because if we compare it to the high poly model, it looks like, or not it looks like, but we can just extrude this one out there and merge it, and that's basically our top here. We just need to make sure it's in the correct height, and we want to bevel the top a bit like this. Yeah, this will bake just fine. Okay, so now we can just duplicate it down. We can also delete all those edges that are unused and think about a better solution like this maybe. Okay, let's do this very quickly. Okay, now that this is done, we wanna basically duplicate this one. So combine it first of all, delete the center, then duplicate down for this one. And we can delete this screw then. Here we can generally delete the bottom half because we will not need it. Same here. Like this. Because we're gonna add this extrusion here. And pull this one in like this. Okay, cool. So we can delete this one as well. We're gonna combine everything, group everything into a low-res group. So everything is nice and organized. And let's take another look. So this is done, this is done, this is done. Those guys are all done. Let's just see how far this needs to penetrate. Yeah. So how far this needs to protrude outwards. So we're just gonna pull this out a bit. Like this. Okay, cool. Now let's see. The next piece we can do is this one, for example. Let's hide it. Let's take a look. Again here, because this will bend it in the smooth mesh and it's not bent in the before it's smoothed, we have to again do the same trick as we did on the knife with deleting all the edges we don't need and making the ones hard that we do need. So let's do that very quickly. Okay. Here we want to make every second one hard. Like this, nice. We want to go in and delete all the supporters here. Want to make sure those guys are still connected. But we want to delete all the edges that we don't need for silhouette purposes. Okay, now in here, let's get rid of this one. Let's get rid of all of those guys. Or not all of them, maybe. Let's get rid of those center ones, I'd say. Oh no, let's keep them all. Now we want to work on them hard edges again, so let's make those guys hard, those guys hard, those guys hard, those two hard. And I think that's it, so we're going to select all hard again. We want to cut them. No, we want to detach them, sorry. And we want to smooth them once. Again here, we want to delete those edges we don't need. Select all hard again, make them hard, merge it. Delete all the hard edges we don't need. Okay, we want to make sure those guys are lined up correctly. Or we delete those guys and just bridge them again. With the twist, you can change which edge gets connected to which. If it doesn't work, like for me now, you can just manually bridge one, then select all other edges and bridge them, so it's nice. Let's do the same here. So we want to bridge those two, select the rest, bridge them as well. Delete all of those unused edges around here. Here, yeah, we just can clean this up manually. Like this we can slide, exactly. And that's about it again. We want to get rid of a lot of those edges in the front here though, by collapsing them and sliding them together so they're at one spot. Okay, cool. But that's good enough for now, I would say, as we're gonna, oh, I missed this one, as we're gonna merge it together with the rest anyway. So that's good enough. Let's continue with that guy. gonna be basically the same as before. So we wanna make the edges hard that we need hard. Let's start from scratch because there are some hard that shouldn't be hard already. So let's make everything soft first. And let's start making those edges hard. Like this, yeah. Around here. Like this. Okay. Let's delete all of the back here because we can just cap it at the end. And let's detach this. So we can just work on one side at a time. And then mirror it down. Okay. So I think we got all the edges hard that we need hard. So now we can start deleting the floaters again. So let's get rid of some of them floaters. Okay. Okay. So we don't need those guys. We can just slide them inwards and merge everything. If it changes the soft or hard edges, just change them back. Let's delete all of those guys. Okay. Okay, so now let's select those edges again, select hard, detach, and let's move it. Again, here we need to clean it up manually, so we want to make sure those guys are where they need to be. We want to delete again those support loops that got created now. Okay. And use edit edge loop to span them out better. You can also cut in new edges here. Just make a nice looking low poly for now. That's not too dense. Okay. So we can maybe, yeah, combine those two. Make a nice straight cut here. Make a nice straight cut here. Combine those guys. Just generally make it look decent, I would say. Let's add one here. And maybe use edit edge loop on this one. Oh, edit edge flow, sorry. Get some nice straight cuts into this. And it already looks promising, I would say. Generally, I don't worry too much about polygons right now. This is not like for a specific game or anything. It's just for like a portfolio piece. And if I'm working on portfolio pieces, the main concern is that it looks good. So don't worry too much about if the poly count is too high. It should just look good on your portfolio. So let's collapse some of those because it is pretty dense here. We'll not need any of those dense meshes, dense distributions here, especially on the inside. We don't need this. Let's span all of those guys out so it's nice and even. And yeah, we don't need any of those guys here. Maybe this last one we're gonna keep, but we make it straight. again, we have this issue here that we can fix by just bridging it from scratch. Yes. Now let's compare it to the high poly. Yeah, it fits pretty well. So let's just mirror it down, combine it, merge it, delete the center edge, fill this hole here for now, and let's also keep it like this. Let's put in our low poly group, and let's continue. So what's missing? We are missing this pipe, and we're missing the chain links. Let's do the chain links first. So we're gonna duplicate them down. We're also gonna smooth them because for now this only has like 8 edges around, and we wanna have more for sure. So let's detach it here. Let's smooth it once, and let's clean it up. Again, this could like this would not need to have more than maybe 10, 12 at the end. But as it's a portfolio piece and we just want it to look good, we're just gonna go higher than what we need. In here, we wanna select every second one because it is getting very round, and we wanna use collapse on it. Same here, every second one, and then we're gonna use collapse on it. Okay, does not look too bad. Now we are having 16. One thing we could try is what if we collapse every third edge? No, it will not work. Okay, then let's just keep it like this. It's very dense, but it will look good, so we don't mind. For the second one, we're just gonna duplicate it and move it into place. Like this. So just a bit of rotating it. And getting it exactly where we need it to be. Okay, cool. Let's move those two into the Lowpoly group as well. Now let's do the last metal pieces, which will be those two pipes. They are gonna be a bit more difficult as we don't need all those details in there. So we either create a curve from scratch, like a cylinder, or we find a way to combine things to make it more easy, basically. One thing that we could do is just deleting edge loops and then bridging them again. So let's try this. So I would say we're gonna delete this one. So we just have this face. Then we're gonna delete this one, for example. We're gonna delete this one, for example. Now let's try if we delete all but those guys. What happens if we connect them? Could this be a good starting point for us? Of course, the bridge didn't work, so let's bridge one first and then the rest. And I think this could be a good starting point to get rid of those. So let's do it like this. So again, we're going to delete those. See if the bridge works now. No, of course not. So let's bridge it like this, and then we can just collapse those two guys. Or even get rid of this bent one, then we only have the straight one. I think this could be a great starting point, so let's keep doing this. So we wanna always keep those guys around. So we're gonna get rid of 2. We wanna keep those guys, those guys, those guys. You can always also go for 3, but I think 2 is a good way to keep the bend, basically. And then just go to the end, and we wanna delete the rest of this mesh, basically. And then we just wanna bridge it up. So let's do singular bridges first, as it didn't work 2 times. If we try to bridge it all. Okay. Now let's do the rest of the bridges. So select everything and not those two guys, basically. Don't bridge it. Ah, we're missing. Forgot to delete apparently this one edge. And then we're just gonna fill this one. We're gonna delete those curved ones. Yeah. Here as well, we're just gonna delete this front thing and just gonna fill it for now. Then we're gonna delete those supporting loops we had here, as we don't need them anymore. Now let's see how many polygons we actually have here. So we have 14. So yeah, we should be good to just collapse every second one for now. Or just delete every second edge, even better. Yep. Same here. Let's just delete every second edge loop. And yeah, let's leave this pipe like this for now. Let's make sure this last one is hard so it doesn't shade weird. And let me think, did we, no, we didn't duplicate it down. As I remember correctly, we just rotated it down, right? So we should be able to use it like this. So we mirrored it down and then mirrored it on the axis. Yeah, so we should be able to just move this into place like this. That's great. So we save some time here. We can even just line up those two edges like this, delete the rest. And that's practically it. So those guys will be all our middle pieces that we just sculpted in ZBrush. And now we just need to look at the decimated model and also those guys at the end and see how are they connected and basically do the exact same but now in the Lowpoly model. And at the end, we're just gonna use these guys and also create one solid piece that will wrap around the rest so we don't need to worry about it. Now comes the tricky part of the Lowpoly. We have to incorporate all the welds and we have to basically mesh all of those meshes together into one mesh. So let's start with something easy. Let's start with the screw. As we can see, the welding is exactly here. So for this one, it's easy because we just need to cut around this area and like create new topology here. So let's start with this. Let's start with a multi-cut tool and let's just cut where the weld basically starts here. Don't worry about edges, about the amount of edges too much right now. Just try to get the weld exactly where it is basically. Like this basically. Okay. Now let's hide this for now. Let's select this edge loop. Let's detach it and delete the inside. Now we want to do a quick cleanup here before we continue. So we don't have too many polygons to work with right now. So let's see, we don't need those guys. Just combine those guys. We don't need this extra edge here, I guess, or let's just combine it. Same here, we just can combine this one. Okay, now we want to use this mesh as our left surface. We want to go into the quadro mode and we basically want to finish off this piece here. So we want to extrude this a bit, combine it in here. We combine it like this. Oop. We want to introduce some more edges here. So we are keeping this round shape going. I guess we want one more loop here. We don't want to make it super dense, by the way. This is it's a super small detail, so we don't want to overdo it. But of course, we want to have a nice looking Lowpoly in case we want to do some close-up shots, for example. So let's just move this into place. Good stuff. Same here. Okay. Move this upwards here. Let's introduce another edge here. Let's combine it with this guy here. Should be enough, yeah. Maybe we want one up here. And then we just wanna finish this off basically. Like this. So let's take another quick look. See if we add in one more edge here. But this should be good enough. So, okay. So that's the first piece. And now we just want to continue on the whole model and basically do exactly this. So combine meshes where they need to be combined. And yeah, add the welding. So let's continue here. Oh, looks like I unintentionally messed this one up. So let's delete this. Let's delete this. Okay. Let's look at it again. So this should be extruded outwards here and then inwards. Exactly. Into this mesh. So let's start with this mesh and let's see where it needs to be cut. So we need to, or we can cut around all of this stuff. We don't need any of those areas here. All of this will be gone. So same way around here. Okay. It also, well, let's do this like this first. Let's get rid of those guys first. Okay. Again, let's take a quick look if we can use some sand tools to make this nicer and better spanned out. Then we want to combine those two meshes basically. So like this. Okay. So one thing that will always happen, because boolean sounds like a great idea here, but if we boolean this, you can see we sometimes lose edges, but it actually worked great here. Oh no, we lost some edges here. Boolean union, you see, we lost those edges here. So a way to fix this is just merge it to one point, merge and extrude and merge to one point, then do the boolean, and then delete those again, and you won't have any of those errors. So now those guys are nice and booled together. So now what we can do is take a look at this edge here, which seems too big to be honest. So let's make it a little smaller. Yeah, and we can start cutting in this piece of welding here, exactly like this, and basically do the same as we did with the other screw. So as you can see, it's not rocket science, but it is just a lot of manual work to get it nice. There's always the way of just using a Dynamesh, a decimated model from ZBrush, but it won't look any good. You will use a lot of geometry to get a nice result, and generally your topology will be just worse. And yeah, I think the extra work is worth it to have a nice and clean model. If you, of course, if you can afford to do the extra work. Okay, let's delete all of those guys. Okay. And another one here. Let's do this one as well while we're here. So we just cut around it again, like before. Okay, same here. Just get in and let's delete all of those faces we don't need. Exactly. Again, we can look at it and clean up some of those edges before we continue, so we don't have too much topology to work with. But honestly, it does look fine, I would say. So let's again use this as our live surface. Let's go in, use our code draw, and let's start creating those edges. Okay, we're just gonna add one more loop here, I guess, to get a bit more of the round shading going here. When you hold down Shift, you can use the smooth and smooth out those edges a bit. Okay. Okay. Looks quite all right so far. And yeah, that's about it for this one. You can just move it out a bit. Let's do the second one here. So the same again, basically. Just gonna extrude it a bit and combine it to get this nice topology going here. Okay. Let's again smooth this a bit. See, we should add one more loop here again, one more edge here, I guess. Let's add another one here. And yeah, now those guys are combined and welded together. So that's basically what we will do with the whole mesh now. We're just gonna go over every piece where it's welded, combine it, and yeah, create our final Lowpoly like this. So let's just continue with the next one. Let's work on this weld here. So again, let's see where the weld starts on this mesh. So it starts around here. So we're just gonna go in and cut around this weld. Just like this. Down here. Up here again. And here we basically can just use this mesh, this edge. Then up here again, I would say. Then down here. And it connects into this mesh like this. So let's get rid of those polygons. On the bottom, let's see, it needs to be cut around here, I would say. As it should connect to this piece. Then let's check. Yeah, this should be fine for now. So let's hide this. And then let's try to combine those two pieces now. So if we look at those two, that means we need an edge right here. So we can combine those two words here. we want to combine those two words. Here, let's see, we want to have it open, I guess. And here we want to combine some words here. So those two. So let's get rid of this one. And let's combine those two words. That also means we need to add an edge around here. So we can combine those two. And for this whole edge loop here, let's try to make it nice and straight here. Let's rotate this piece a bit. Also cut down here nice and straight. If it works. Yep. Let's also line it up. Let's introduce an edge here as well. Let's snap it. And now we can delete these inner edges here. Let's get also rid of that one for now. Now we can actually combine those two meshes. And we can bevel those two guys. We can get rid of this one. Also that one, but we need one connecting edge here. So basically those two guys need a connection. So let's just get rid of this for now and bridge it again. Exactly. Those guys should be welded, but we can also just delete this and bridge it again so we are sure it's connected. As you can see, here's an error, but this edge is not welded, even though those words are only one each. So if we select this word, it's one. This one is one. Oop. Yeah, this one is two actually. Let's merge it. Okay, that fixed it. Should be all connected though. Let's see, yeah, looks great. Looks great. So all of this is connected. So now we just need to worry about the welding. So let's take a look at the welding again. Actually, let's just cut this here and let's get rid of this as well. As we're gonna just add welding here. Maybe we should even cut all the way here. Make the cut here already. Delete all of that's inside here. Maybe even this one. And do the welding from here on out. We can also already well, let's do it afterwards. We can also combine this screw in here then, but let's do this afterwards. So for the welding, let's again make this a live surface. Let's select our mesh and actually let's hide everything but this mesh. And let's start creating the welding here. This one's going to be a bit more difficult than the other one, so let's just start somewhere. Exactly like this. Okay. We're going to pull out some more faces here. I'm going to combine this. Let's see, we want to have some edges here. Connect those two. Get one in here. And then start combining those guys. We want to make sure those guys are nice and evenly spaced. So let's line them up. Means we can add one more here. Get rid of those guys. Let's merge all of this. Here we can actually just introduce more edge loops, like one here. Can add another one here and another one here. And then we can just combine those guys and this guy. Great stuff. You can actually merge those together as it's not doing much here. Same for this guy. Just merge this one in like this. Okay, cool. Now let's work around this area. So I would say we can just line this one up like this. Okay. Here, let's actually get one edge in here. So we can do something like this here. And then finish off this one. And maybe we should even have this one in here. So let's add one more. See how this looks. Again, it doesn't need to be like super detailed because it's just the welding that's gonna get baked onto this. But yeah, as close as we are to the actual high poly, the better it's gonna look at the end for sure. So we wanna have some nice edge loops here as well. And enough topology to actually capture to actually capture the high poly. Okay. Okay. Let's do the same here. Line up those guys. Create more polygons here. And actually make a cut around here to have this bump in here. It's good. Then let's turn this whole piece around and let's work from here. As you can see, pretty straightforward. We just want to connect our pieces with something that looks like the welding. Doesn't need to be perfect, as we're gonna bake on all those details. But of course, the more time you spend on this, the better it's gonna look. And it is the final low poly model, so it look decent at least. So let's move it out a bit. More edges around here. So let's just finish this off. Always use the smooth, so it's nice and smooth, of course. Okay, just like this. Can bend this around a bit here. We can actually introduce one more edge here, so we have more to play with. Let's extrude all of those. Let's actually pull them all the way down already. Okay. Let's actually combine some of those edges because we have quite a lot here that we don't actually need. Okay. So I would say this welding is practically done. But for this piece, we don't actually have the high poly, as we just used it in ZBrush, so we have to build this one from scratch anyway. So we can do this right away. So let's just try to get a nice topology going here. So this is one way of doing it, just rebuilding it from scratch. Or we could get our high poly mesh in here, rotate it into the position, and use it like this. But I think this is actually the faster method, so just go for this one now. In fact, let me just pull those guys down so they line up. Okay. Now I would say let's hide the decimated model for now. Let's use send tools on those guys with the marking menu. So these are nice and spanned out. Then I would say let's fill this hole and fill this hole. And now what we want to do is we want to see the high poly. So we can make this nice and straight here. Nice and straight. And we can just line it up like this. As we can see, we should tip it a bit forward and to the left. Yes. Okay. We're going to do the same for this one. So we can just align the edges, make them nice and straight, and then also, let's see, pull them down a bit, move them a bit, same as before. Nice. Okay, this should work just all right. So again, let's use sand tools on those guys to span them out nicely. I feel like we should move this one in a bit. Also that one. And now if we span it, we should get a way smoother result. It's nice. Okay. Let's combine those. Let's move those. Can also do the same here. So we can align those guys so they are nice and straight. Same here. Okay, cool. So this one is basically done. Let's take a look at the high poly again. What are we missing here? So one thing we can do straight away is we can attach this guy now. So let's unhide this. We want to attach this guy. To do that, because this guy is closed now, like it has no open holes anymore. One thing we can do is just select both of them. Let's see if, yeah, he intersects actually, so we can close this one. Select both and do a boolean, a union. Let's delete the history after this one. And let's line up those edges. It's cool. Now we can actually introduce more edges into this. Like we can, I would say, add one cut around here. Make it nice and straight. And then we can try to just triangulate those guys. Oop, not the bottom ones for now, just those two. Yeah, this should work. Yeah, this should work just fine. Okay, cool. So now that those guys are combined, we can actually combine this guy as well. But this guy is a bit more difficult as it also involves this guy. But again, we will just do the same things as we did before. We're going to start by, oh, first, before we do this, let me actually line those edges up. So we want to line them up perfectly. Now we want to go in and start again cutting where the welding is. So we want to introduce a cut here, and we want to introduce a cut right around here. We're going to delete those edges again. So as you can see, very straightforward, very simple stuff. It's just a lot of work. So we just want to get it done. Nothing groundbreaking here. We just want to make sure to not have too many polygons at the end, but we will do a cleanup pass at the end anyway. And also we want to make sure that it's nicely spanned out, the edges we add, and that they connect to the mesh properly. Okay, this one's going to be a big weld, so let's just start from this edge then. So we have this cut here. It goes up here like this. Exactly. Then it continues around here and actually combines this guy as well. So let's create a hole for that welding now. Here we can just take this long edge and then move the cut down here. And here we actually just want to combining those guys later anyway. So we're just going to finish it up with this one for now. Gonna hide this for now. And we're gonna delete those guys. Okay, let's take a look at the bottom. So it's practically the same. It starts around here. Here actually, it goes around here. So we want to get rid of those guys. We want to get rid of the whole inner piece here. Want to cut out here. So as you can see, the more complex your welding is, the more complex your Lowpoly will be now. But it's not too complex for us right now. Like this one is still okay to work with. And it will give us a very nice result at the end. can then we'll cut up here and let's round it. Let's hide this one for now. Let's get rid of all those edges. Exactly like this. We can actually get rid of those guys, combine those two, or just get rid of this one. Exactly like this. Or here it was actually intersecting, so we can just take all of this and combine them to one word. Cool. The insides we don't need as well, so let's get rid of those two guys. Yeah, and this is basically the whole for our next welding. So I would say, because it's the same for the rest of the knife, the same as we did here, I will just fast forward the next steps until I'm done with the Lowpoly, and talk to you later when we are talking about the optimization. Now that the low poly of the knife itself is basically done, the next thing I want to do is first create the duct tape low poly, and secondly I want to review the whole thing basically and check where we can save some polygons or where we should add some polygons. Also, we want to get rid of n-gons and yeah, make a clean model. One thing that I did while I was working on this low poly now is I kept this piece separately, even though in the decimated one, as we can see, we added this welding, but I think we should get rid of this welding at the end and keep this as a separate chain link. So at the end, this would like move freely and could be attached to something. Okay, so that's the only thing I changed from the high poly to low poly now. Okay, first thing we want to do is create the duct tape. To do that, we're gonna take a look at the high poly and create a duplicate of all of it. Now, as far as I see it, I would say we're gonna create one mesh for those guys and this guy separately. So we can basically close it in here and then just wrap this one around. The easiest way to do this now is to again start from something, so we don't have to do it from scratch. And I think we could actually start from one of those loops. So if we take a look at this loop, this has 20 faces, and if everything is great, then this has 20 faces as well. Yeah, it has 20 faces as well. So what I would say is, let's duplicate those two, and I will show you how I would start this. First of all, I would again smooth each one of those once, exactly once. That's good. Or before we smooth it, actually I would remove all but this edge ring. Same here, all but this edge ring. And now we want to smooth it. Same here, same here. Because what I know is that this edge at the end moves underneath this edge. Okay. Again, this is one of those where we want to do it like this. So that's what we know that will happen. So this moves under this moves under this moves under this. So they always move underneath each other. So if this always has the same amount of polygons, we can always bridge it at the end. So that's what I want to try now. So this one has 21, which will be an issue. So we have to figure this one out. This one has 20 again, works great. Okay, so let's see, why does this one have one more? Guess it's this edge. Okay, so let's smooth it again, let's combine it, and let's see if we can do it. Yep, works like a charm again. Same here, we're gonna smooth it, delete the center one, merge it, and bridge it. Yes, still works. Let's see here. Again, that's great. So let's smooth it again, combine it to this one. Again, merge those first, bridge those first, then bridge the rest. Delete this one again. Let's take a look at this one. Here, we want to keep the end as well, I would say, because that's the last one. So let's see how many polygons this has. 20 and 20, which is great. So let's first bridge those two guys. And then let's combine this. Oh, before we bridge it, we should smooth it actually. So those two should be smoothed. And of course, before we combine it, we should smooth it. So let's go back a step. Let's smooth it. Let's combine it. Again, let's bridge it. So those guys first again. Delete this one. Then those guys. Okay, cool. So now this should basically mimic the outlines of our high poly, but of course we want to have those edges on the inside as well. But before we add them, we should clean the whole thing up. So we will not need all of those on top, for example. So we can safely select a couple of edges here, some loops, and collapse it. Yep. Like this. We can also just select some and do edit edge loop on those, so the whole thing gets smoother. This is a nice density, I would say, we have up here. So we want to try to reproduce this density everywhere. So let's do this exactly. We want to keep this center one maybe. Can try edge loop on it though. We want to have one in here, maybe not two. So let's do an edge loop on this guys. Let's delete this again. We don't need two here. One is enough, I would say. Edge loop on this guy. Let's delete those guys. Let's do edge loop on this guy. Oh, before we do this, let's clean this one up. So on top we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we're going to have the same here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we're going to get rid of this one. Maybe we have one less because it looks like this is more round. But then let's start working with edge loop again. So we get these nice and round shapes here. Great. Now what we want to do is we want to clear our history first of all. Maybe we don't even need this one as it's super straight here. Let's see if we delete those. Would still work. Or let's slide it down a bit as it looks like we're needing it here. Yeah, let's slide it down a bit. Okay. This one we can get rid of though. Okay, this looks good, I would say. What if we use edge loop on this guy? No. Let's just slide this down a bit. And let's add one more here maybe. Yeah. Yeah, this looks good. So what we want to do now, because we know the insides work, but those guys don't. So we want to combine all of those guys. We want to smooth them now, like 2 times maybe. Use them as a live surface. And now we just want to add topology. So we could, for example, add one here, add one down here, add one here for the bend. But this is already pretty good for this one. For the first one, we could just add one in the center, or we don't add any. Maybe one in the front here as it has this little bend upwards. But to be honest, we don't even need one. Let's add one, so we're on the safe side. Here again, we need 2 or 3 just to get this nice shape. Same here, 1, 2, 3 maybe. Maybe if we move this one more to the front. And here you can see an error that can occur, that this edge moves inside, so we have to pull this one out. Another way to do this is, let's go back, just select the whole loop and just start scaling it a bit until it pops. Or use transform components on the whole thing, move it outwards, so you're for sure it's outside, and then just move it front and back a bit. Okay. Okay, then let's see. Maybe we want to add even one more here. Do edit edge loop on this guy. Or just pull it a bit to the front. Yeah, looks good. Okay, let's continue. I would say we need 3 here, for example, as we want it to be smooth, but it's not a very long one here. And let's add 3 more here, like this. Yeah, and this should be, if we take a look now, good enough. Maybe one more here. It moves a lot, and one more here because those guys are pretty long. But it does look good already, to be honest. So now if we smooth this whole thing, this would be our low poly mesh from the outside. And now we just want to fix the inside. Easy way to do this is to just, let's take a look again on just this guy and this guy, is to just extrude in a bit. Maybe till the first part here, make it a bit smaller. Combine it to one word. And slide this one forward again. So this one is exactly where it meets, and this one is a little bit forward. Now if you see, look at this, you won't even see this fine side. So that's one way of doing it. On the other side, let's see again. So we're gonna select those 2 guys. We're gonna select this guy. Gonna extrude it inwards a bit. We're gonna add a edge in the center again and combine this in the middle. And that's about it. Cool. So now only this one is missing basically. Then we have our low poly of the duct tape. This one, as it is, as you can see on the outside and we can see through it, this one needs to be intact. So the easiest way to do this one is actually detaching those hard edges here, as we did before. Detaching those edges that are bevel, sorry. And then smoothing this one, getting rid of the supporters again, and then combining it. So this is way too much, of course. So what we want to do is we want to go in here, maybe even get rid of every second one here. Let's see. Maybe every second one is too much though. But we will see. No, it's fine even. Can get rid of this and combine this one. Then again, edit edge loop, always great. On the inside, we can even get rid of like the majority here. Maybe we want to keep like 2 edges in here because we won't really see inside here. Okay, now we can combine everything and now we can clean up the loops here because this again is way too much. So I would say we can keep those 3, I guess. can get rid of those guys, then have free again. We're gonna use edit edge loop on those guys, so they're nice and straight. Here, up here, we will not need this one, and we can, maybe we wanna keep 1, 2 here, those two, and then we can start combining those guys, and maybe use even edit edge loop on this guy, to have a nice round edge here. Yeah, we won't need those guys, I reckon. Yeah, and this guy, yeah, let's keep that guy. Here again, those guys not needed. We can collapse those guys again, get rid of this guy. On the bottom the same, so we can just collapse a bunch of them. Say let edit edge loop on this guy, so we have this nice and straight here. Even collapse those guys. Same here, edit edge loop on these guys. This guy I would keep. This guy we can just get rid of. Can we get rid of this guy? Yeah, we can also get rid of this guy. Especially if we move this one down a bit first. This one, maybe if we move this one up a bit, we can do the same here. So let's compare it to our high poly. Yeah, this is good enough. So we can do it like this. And yeah, keep this as our duct tape low polys as well. Okay, so that's that. And now that the whole low poly is done, we wanna check where we can improve things, where we can cut things, and stuff like this. So let's start with the knife. Here, the first thing I see is like we can just get this one closer, because it doesn't really make sense to have such small edges. Then we can use sand tools to span this out better by using the sand tool menu again, sand uniform. We have to combine those two guys so we don't have angons here. See, the rest looks rather good here. Okay, now let's go to the first welding piece. I think we will not need this one. I would say let's make those guys hard. Let's make all of those guys soft here. Let's see. Hey. Here we want to maybe move some words around so it looks more smooth. This guy we can just combine, I guess. Yeah, we don't need this. Okay. Let's take a look on those guys. Again, we can make them soft. Same here. So let's get rid of all of this. Make all of those soft, I mean. Add this loop here. Add this edge here. Okay, looks good, I would say. Let's combine this. Let's make those guys hard here. Nice. So what I'm looking at now is there any topology that is completely useless and we can just get rid of it? But for now, looks fine. Here we want to make sure those guys don't end in the middle of nowhere. So at the end, we will have to just continue the cut basically. That will be the cleanest version. And do something like this. So we have one cut here, one cut here, like this. Exactly. And then those guys, this angon, we can just triangulate again. Done. Okay, cool. Now let's continue looking at this. The back side, yeah, we can get rid of those two edges because this will just hinder us from having a nice topology. Here, everything looks good. Again, this is a bit dense, I would say. So let's try if we just combine those guys, for example. Yeah, this is more than enough. So let's make all of this soft again. Yes. Same here. We can combine those guys. We can just make all of those edges soft here. Yep. Let's make all of those guys soft as well here. Okay, looks good. This one we can just slide in and combine. Here we just want to add another mesh, another edge here. Good. Okay, let's add a hard edge so this moves better. Then let's continue with this guy. This one looks halfway decent, I would say. Let's just make all of this soft for now. It looks wobbly right now, and we should get rid of some of those edges. But the main reason for this is that the welding is wobbly, and we are pretty close to the welding, so it's not really an issue right now. This one we don't need, we can just move it on. So don't worry too much about this wobble stuff. As long as it does look good, and I think it does look good here. Okay. Maybe we're gonna cut this one here. Let's make those guys soft. Yeah, let's make all of this soft here. Good. Good. Oh, those guys soft. Those guys soft. Looks like, yeah, here's an issue, so let's fix it. Cool. Here's an issue, and here's an issue. Let's delete those two edges here, and let's just fill this hole to fix this issue. Oh, doesn't work. Oh, there is an edge inside here. Okay, we have to delete this one, fill this hole. Nice. So this is fixed. And here we just want to delete one of those faces and also fill the hole to fix this issue. And we want to do something like this. And this looks way better already. Let's add some edges here. I think we will not need these guys, so let's get rid of those. Let's clean it up. Good. Cool. Here we have one of those issues again, where we have a lot of edges that end in the middle of nowhere. So here it would even make sense to just cut across. See, like this. Yep, this would work. That's great. Here we have two more. Okay. We could do something like this, for example. Cool. Here we also want to take a look at the hard and soft edges, so we want to make all of this smooth. So we can see how the shading is finally. Cool. Looks good. Now let's go further back. Here we can just slide some of those edges in so it looks more smooth and not as wonky again. I think the welding itself looks fine here, so we're just gonna make sure everything is nice and smooth here. Like this. Okay, it does look good, I would say. Okay. On the other side, let's take a look as well. Maybe we can span some things out here so it looks more round. Here's a hole, let's close it quickly. Done. Now let's again make all of this soft. Let's keep those guys hard. Okay, looks cool. So the last weldings are those guys. Okay, they look good anyway. Let's get rid of all of those hard edges and make them nice and soft here. Let's make, oop, that's too much. Yes, exactly. And maybe just combine those guys. Oop. Yeah, didn't change a lot. So let's combine them. Let's make all of those guys soft. Okay, so this does look good already. Let's check the wireframe again. Looks decent, I would say. So now what we want to try is we want to see if we can clean up all the angons. I know that there will be angles here 100% because this is just long triangles here. So what I want to do before we check for angles is like add things that can prevent angles. Like adding one split here, for example. Just a split down here. So we have an edge connecting those two sides already, for example. So just edit with connect, slide it into position here, or maybe here, make it soft. Yeah, that would work already. And now if we check for angles, mesh cleanup, we want to check for faces with more than 4 sides. Oh, first of all, we want to add just a planar mapping. So now if we check the UVs, this should be just plain base plane. Guess we have to select it all first. Best plane. Okay, it didn't work. Then let's do automatic for now. Okay, so we just have some UV layout. Then let's press cleanup on faces with more than 4 sides, laminar faces and non-manifold faces. Let's press it a couple of times. And now we can press isolate and we can see what's wrong. So it starts with this big face. So to clean this one up, we just need to add some edges here. Same here. So we're just gonna clean this up. And don't forget to make it soft. Let's continue. We have one face here. We can try triangulate and it looks decent. Then let's select this one, triangulate. Also looks decent. Let's see. Next one is up here. So let's try triangulate here. It's great. But we can see here's another issue. It even pops up as a word here. And the reason is this connection here. So to fix this, we should just select this word here and go to detach. Then we want to just select the words on the screw basically, and then we want to select those words and merge them. So those guys are not connected anymore. And now we want to make sure that they don't touch. Okay. Then we can just delete those guys. Just want to make sure they don't touch. Okay. Now let's continue cleaning. This one is an angon, he says, because of this guy. So let's add a connection here. This one is an angon. Let's see if we just combine this, it will be easier. And then we just try triangulate again. Works like a charm. This guy triangulate. Didn't work as good, so what I would suggest is maybe we can even collapse this, and then it isn't a quad and not an angon anymore. Same here, we just wanna add an edge here. Okay, next guy is that one. Let's see, triangulate and quad triangulate afterwards. Yeah, works like a charm. This guy, it's a big one, should work with triangulate and quad triangulate. Not as well as I thought, so let's edit it a bit. But yeah, decent enough. Same here, triangulate, quad triangulate. Looks good already. Just some minor edits like this. And they're done. I just don't want those guys to have no connection, so it's better like this. Okay, let's continue. This is an angon still, so let's quad triangulate. Triangulate and quad triangulate it. Okay, let's continue. Those guys, let's triangulate and quad triangulate them again. This guy, let's try. What if we delete this one? Like more of them. Maybe they get connected like this. This would be great. Yes, this is a great connection. Just want to fix this one up because it's two. A twist could be one quad. Let's continue this guy. Let's see what it gives us. Yeah, I don't like those guys, so I would always have a straight here and delete this one, have a straight here, delete this one. So this is way more, this will cause way less issues if we do it like this. Okay. Those guys, let's triangulate them. It's fine. The other side, let's select those guys again and let's use triangulate, quad triangulate on them. And it does look decent for most of it. I just would like to clean this one up and this one up. Oh, here's another one. Okay, those guys as well. Yeah, looks decent, except this one. I want to cut this like this and this. So we have a nice quad in the center. Let's try this. Quad triangulate, triangulate. not too bad. I would just like to get this one here. So we have a quad and a quad and a quad here. Cool. This guy we can just connect like this. This guy we can again connect down here. Up here we can just cut straight like this. Here, let's see. Those guys we can just combine. Same here. Let's just make quads out of this. Let's get some edges like this here. Let's try what it wants to do on those guys. Or even better, we're gonna combine it here. We're just going to delete this whole loop here. And then we're gonna clean it up like this. Now again, this guy. Like this. And now those big guys. Oh, here, shouldn't have happened. Here, those big guys. Let's see. Let's make this one first. So those guys, let's see if we just triangulate, quadriangulate it. This looks good, not too long triangles, because you want to avoid long triangles. This looks good as well. Same here. Here I would say let's maybe just collapse those guys. So we don't have too many polygons here. Yeah, looks good. So let's see where else we have still n-gons. One we have here, but we can just do this manually. Then we have the big one. Let's see. Triangulate, quadriangulate. Nearly works. We just have to do some edits here. Again. Same on those guys. Quadriangulate, which should fix it. Triangulate should fix it. Yeah. Looks good. This guy. Yep. Let's do it like this. So we have two quads here. We have a quad and a triangle here. Yeah. And we want to make this one hard. Okay, cool. Up here we can again add one in the center first. So it's easier for Maya to decide where to go with those guys. Yeah, those are the ones you want to avoid. Those long, thin, you don't want to have those. They will just cause issues in normal. Also this one. It's better to have just this quad here. Okay, let's see. Still have something to do here. That's done. Let's see. Looks good. Good. Manually just cutting. This one. Nearly. Just want to do this. This one. Yeah, I would have preferred it to cut it like this. So we have a short triangle instead of a long triangle here. Those two guys, let's see. Work fine like this. Then let's go to the back here. Let's see. Yeah, this looks great. We just want to again have this one connected here. Also this one connected. Yeah, we want to have a quad here instead of two trees. Okay, let's try this one here. Yep, nearly. So those guys again, those guys again, those guys again. And then we want to create two quads here instead of having more triangles. Let's see this guy, if it works better. Yeah, it created this long triangle again, so we don't want this. We want rather have triangle like this. Yeah, this is fine. Let's just make this one soft here. But I guess at the end we wanna collapse this anyway, because it's getting very tight here. Same here. Let's get rid of this. It's getting way too tight here. Okay, so we have this one where we can also just collapse it, I guess. Yep, this looks good. This face, let's see. Yeah, too long, the triangles. So the way to do this is cut one here like this, then cut this one straight and then in. So it's not an n-gon anymore. Now the only thing we want to do is like make a planar mapping on this whole thing, and then see again with clean up if he finds n-gons. He finds two more n-gons here. Okay, so again we want to clean this like this. Here we can again cut straight and connect it. and then cut this one like this, I would say. And the mesh is clean. So we don't have any engons more. Oh, here's still one very long thin one. That's not good. Good that we saw it. Okay, so now we have a clean mesh. Let's check this one as well. Clean. This one clean as well. Okay, cool. So now that everything is clean, we can, in the next video, continue creating the UVs for everything before we start baking and texturing.